Yeah, Barry had a labral tear to his right hip, and that's normally caused by impingement of the hip joint on the lining of the hip itself, and it tears the labrum. So basically it stops the two bones, the femur, which comes up, and the hip joint itself rubbing together. So it's really like a protection, a shock absorber that stops the two bones rubbing together. And what he's done, probably with doing his goalkeeping training, he's probably, as he stood up, very sharp movement, he's probably just tore the labrum. The feet get stuck in very strange positions and can cause damage to the hip.
I think it was just wear and tear, to be honest. I had a little injury in my hip pre-season where I missed a couple of weeks, and then come October time it started to flare up again, so I just presumed that it was the same injury. And the talk was with Farney and Jonesy, I think we finished the York game here on a Tuesday night. I might need a couple of weeks rest. Went to get a scan on the Wednesday, went to see the specialist Friday, and he turned around and said, you're going to need an op, and that's basically your season done. Yeah,
the surgery's quite complex in that the hip joint itself is very tight, so they have to distract the hip joint, then they have to then go in with a scope, they have to tidy the labrum up, which is the actual lining of the joint, and they have to smooth the head of the hip joint out, because basically the hip joint has a little cam on it, they call it a cam, and that is the reason it causes the damage to the joint itself. So they have to shave the head off, the cam off itself.
So it was a big shock to the system, but it was a case of you either get it done now, or I think they were even talking in years to come a hip replacement, so it was a no-brainer.
And also you got to remember that not only from a football point of view, Barry's got the rest of his life to live, so he's got a young child, and he's got to remember that not just the football career, maybe another 3, 4, 5 years of that, but he's also got to remember that the rest of his life he's got his hip joint, and the hip joint will deteriorate now he's had an operation. So what he doesn't want to do is end up getting a major problem. So if you can give him a little bit longer to rehab and a little bit more rest, it all bodes well for the future, really.
It was, I'll be honest, it was very, very hard to come to terms with. Just ask my missus, I was an absolute nightmare at home for a while. But it's strange, you kind of get used to it after a while, because that at that time the gym, where the lads are going training, you want to be with them, of course, but that the gym is the best place for you, and it's the place where you're going to do your rehab, and it's going to give you the best chance of getting back out onto the pitch, and ultimately that's obviously what any professional footballer wants, to be playing on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's very slow, really. Once the operation's gone ahead, you're looking at about a 6-month rehab program to get him fully fit again. In the early stages, that's very, very low key, really. It's very light work. It's pool therapy. It's movement work. There's no real sort of impact, so you can't start running, you can't do any jumping. It's all very light work. And in about 3 months, you can step it up. So after about 3 months, we start doing more complex work, which involves weight bearing. But again, that again has to be staggered, so that it's gradually increased over the next 3 months, and really about 6 months are ready to play again.
When I set myself targets, I want to be sort of doing this by this stage, back out doing goalkeeping. Sort of, you work your socks off in the gym to get to that stage, and then once you've sort of reached that stage, accomplish what you need to, then you set yourself another target to get to the next stage. And it was all about just setting targets. And towards the end of the season, when I got back on the bench, it was like, well, brilliant, I'm a month ahead of schedule. But it showed I was a month ahead of schedule, because when Andreas gave away the penalty and looked like he was going to get sent off, I had a little panic, because I was like, ref, please don't give him a red card. Because I was warming up, and it was at half time when we were warming up at half time and kicking the balls, and I'll be honest, it just felt really, really tight. I trained for 3 weeks previously and not had really any reaction whatsoever. And then all of a sudden I'm warming up at half time in a match situation. I'm thinking, this doesn't feel right here. So when I was warming up, and I was down warming up when the incident happened, and I turned to Andy Wright and gone, because he turned to me and went, "Uh-oh, you're on." And I went, "Oh no, please ref, please just give me a yellow card." And he did, and sort of it was that moment right then that I knew I wasn't ready to come back.
In the end, there was no particular rush to play him, and we decided to, from his point of view and our point of view, we'd leave him till the start of this season.
Well, obviously he's come back, he's looking good. Obviously I'm putting through his paces. Obviously I speak to Farney. The sort of injury he has, I think he needs to, obviously his weight to be to a certain level, like I think you would struggle with, because in the past I know myself, which I've had that injury, like, so so hopefully, touch wood, at the moment he hasn't had any problems whatsoever, so hopefully he's going to be back to where he was before he got injured.
I'll be honest, I feel great. I feel better than I have done, and I feel better than I have done in a long time. But that's down to hard work. There's no other substitute for it. There was no other way I was going to get round getting back to full fitness other than working my socks off. And as I said, when I needed a kick up the backside, I had people to do it. On the lonely afternoons, myself and Squiz in the gym, everybody gone home, myself and Squiz in the gym every day. Getting the hip stronger, but not only just hip work, but general leg work and upper body weights and stuff like that. It was Squiz who did an awful lot of work with me, put an awful lot of time in with me on the in the gym when everyone else had gone home. So I've got to be a lot to thankful for those three lads for, and the staff down at St George's, because I spent 3 separate weeks down there with them. And I consider myself fortunate to have been in the care of such good people.